Prairie, Texas? That's the question that we're answering today. And let me make sure that our audio is working okay. So if you can hear me okay, let me know in the comment section down below. Awesome. So Grand Prairie, Texas is on the brain. That is on the mind. That's what we're going to look at today. We're going to identify how much we actually need to earn in order to purchase in Grand Prairie, Texas. Now, there's a few assumptions that we're going to be making along the way. But as I make those assumptions, we'll talk through them so you know what they are and how you can adjust it for your specific situation. So we're going to look at income, aka salary you need to earn. We're going to be looking at debt ratios. We're going to be looking at property tax rates. We're also going to be looking at mortgage rates. We're going to go into a deep dive on everything you'll need to know about purchasing a home in Grand Prairie, Texas. So if you have any questions along the way, make sure you drop them in the chat. I'll hang out after our live stream and answer as many questions as I possibly can. So make sure that you drop them down below. Happy to assist wherever we can. So, all right, so let's get started. Grand Prairie, Texas. How much do we need to earn in order to purchase a home in Grand Prairie? Well, first off, we need a starting point. How much does it actually cost to buy a home in Grand Prairie, Texas? What's the cost? What's the price? So I'm going to show you where I like to go. And this is the same resource that I give to all of our clients because it's pretty good. It's actually really good. So Altto Research is giving you real-time feedback, real-time market data that can help you in your home search. So here you're going to get a little index meter of, hey, what type of market are we looking at when it comes to Grand Prairie? Is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? Well, here you see that Grand Prairie is actually in a seller's market. So what does that mean? That means that sellers have the leverage here, right? So the inventory is lower, which gives the sellers a bit more of a leg up. So they can entertain more offers. They have the leverage here for all intents and purposes. Now, simply because Grand Prairie is in the Dallas-Fort Worth market does not mean that the entire market is the same way, that the entire DFW Metroplex is the same. We have actually done breakdowns here recently that are leaning a little bit closer to a buyer's market. So again, simply because it operates in DFW, Grand Prairie that is, and it's the center of DFW, doesn't mean that that's the case across the entire board, right? So just be mindful of that. All right, so what's important for us is these are all market numbers that are going to change, and that's pretty awesome. You get to see kind of what Grand Prairie is doing right now, and you also get the historical breakdown of what the past 5 years have looked like from a historical price range. So you see here 5 years ago, the median list price, the median price in Grand Prairie was around $300,000, and now in a short 5 years, it's gone up to $400,000. So that's a 33% rise in just 5 years. So that's huge, right? Well, the real reason that we're in this website, the real reason that we're in Altto, which again is a free resource for you to use, the reason that we're here is because of this graph right here, this market segments part. The reason I like this so much is because you most likely, whether you know anything about Grand Prairie or know everything about Grand Prairie, you have a housing need, and for the most part, you know your housing need. Now, you might not necessarily know how much it's going to cost to purchase that type of house, in this case in Grand Prairie. So this is why these market segments are so powerful. Again, you might know everything about the area, but when it comes to real estate, that really matters. And you yourself come with a housing need. So as an example, if you need 4 beds and 3 baths, well, here in Grand Prairie, you're going to see that on average, it's going to cost you about $469,000. Now, you could take that same requirement and continue to use this free website and go and see what it would cost in Frisco. So in Frisco, this same type of house, a 4-bed house with 3 baths, it's going to cost you $600,000, $700,000 on average. So you can see that big difference in the real estate prices. So it really isolates the type of house that you need in relation to the median price that you can expect to pay in an area. That's why I really like this so much. So for our purposes today, we're going to make this assumption. So this is assumption number 1. We need a starting point, right? So we could say, hey, let's use the least expensive home, or on average, the least expensive homes available in Grand Prairie, and make the calculation off of that. you're more than welcome to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's your need, awesome, that's great. I'm going to show you the exact mechanics. Everything is linked down below so you can use the exact same tools that you're going to see on the screen right now to make your own calculation. But for our purposes today, given that we get a ton of calls from individuals that are in the DFW Metroplex and from all across the country, most of the requests that we get are based off of a 4-bed and at least a 2.5 bath. So in this case, we're looking at a 4-bed and 3-bath house. So that's primarily what we get asked about from our clients. So that's what we're going to do a calculation on. So a 4-bed, 3-bath, and in this case, almost 2,900 square feet. We're making a calculation based off of $469,000 asking price or the sales price. So what this means for us is the calculation that we end up with at the end, you can actually purchase a home for substantially less, because here on average, again, this is what we're looking on the lowest priced median homes in Grand Prairie. But for our purposes today, we're going to go with $469,000. That's the number we're hitting. All right, so if you have any questions on that, let me know in the chat down below. But I just want to make sure that we're all aware of where I'm taking some creative liberties, where I'm taking some assumptions into play, so you know where the numbers kind of come from. So for our purposes today, what we're going to do is we're going to see the type of real estate that's available to us at this type of price in Grand Prairie. This is a good visual aid on the type of home that you can expect, because oftentimes whenever we go on Zillow, whenever we go on Redfin, Realtor.com, Homes.com, and go all those third-party websites, we look at homes, right? So we input the budget, of course, but then we also are looking at the types of homes, especially if we're not from the area, because we might not be used to this type of architecture. So this past week I was in, on Wednesday, I was in Wisconsin, and on Thursday I went to Minnesota to do presentations, because we have a real estate group up there, and the architecture is different. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. The architecture is different, so same thing goes here. So let me move myself out of the way for a quick second so you can see the type of homes that we're talking about. Now, this is going to be a very brief overview, nothing too in-depth. I just want you to see visually the types of homes that we're talking about. Remember, we're trying to hit $469,000, and then you get to see the asking prices for all the homes that are in between $400,000 and $500,000 right now. So again, this is extremely helpful if you haven't shopped for real estate in a while and or are brand new to Grand Prairie and don't necessarily know what the architecture looks like. This gives you a good representation of what you can purchase for this price, because this is actively on the market right now. Good looking homes. This looks like a brand new build, very close to a brand new build. All right, so again, this is just a very visual, super quick. We're not going to spend too much time here. In fact, we're already done with that. The highest and best use of our time is going to be in the next tab over. So that's what we're going to focus our time with right now. To look at homes, you don't need me to show you homes. You have access to that information on the third-party websites. What's most valuable for our time today is going to be right in through here. So let me replace this real fast, because I did not prep this before we got started. My apologies. How do I spell it? There we go. And it just so happens that it happens to be the exact same price that we did with Keller. Now, if you have not seen our Keller video, I encourage you to check that out, because one, it's pretty awesome, but two, you're going to see the differences that property tax rates, I don't want to give away the ending, but you're going to see the differences on property tax rate, how radically different that can be for your down payment. And you're actually seeing a little bit of it right now as we go through it, because this is the exact same one that we left off from when we did our Keller video. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that bridge when we get there. So let's start talking about the numbers. Let's start going through some additional assumptions. In this case, what type of loan are we pursuing? So remember, we're trying to buy a home in Grand Prairie. We know that. On average, the type of home that we're looking for is about $469,000. Could we buy a less expensive one? Well, yes, of course, but this will mean half the home. You know, if that's your need, awesome, that's great. But for our purposes today, we're sticking with $469,000. All right, so what that means is the first consideration that we're going to have is our down payment. How much down payment do we have or are willing to make to purchase our home? So you can do as little as 3%. You can do as much as 100%, aka you buy the home cash. You have those options. Now, primarily there's going to be 4 types of loans that you're going to pursue. One is going to be a VA loan. If you have served in the military, you get access to a VA loan, which allows you to purchase a home for 0% down. That has to do with if you served in the military. So that if you are a veteran, if you're in, that gives you access to a VA loan, right? So that gives you a really good incentive of 0% down. But that has to do with the individual. Now, you also have another loan called the USDA loan. Now, this one has to do with the property itself, where the land is. So it has nothing to do with you. Doesn't matter what profession you have or don't have. The USDA loan is based off of where the property is. If it's in a USDA area, where you get access to purchase that home at a 0% down because of the rural nature that the USDA loan is associated to. So in that particular case, if you have a home, if you find a home that is in a USDA zone, then it's eligible for 0% down. Now, just as a full disclaimer, Grand Prairie, don't expect to find a home in a USDA area, but I just want to be thorough and help you understand the different types of loans because you probably hear about them all of the time. So again, VA has to do with you, the person, the individual. USDA loan has to do with the property, where it's located, and if it's in a USDA zone, right? So hopefully that makes sense. The 2 primary loans, so we're talking about 4 loans, but the 2 primary loans that we're going to, that basically everyone has access to, that everyone usually gravitates toward, is either a conventional loan or an FHA loan. So in a conventional loan, you generally, I'm generalizing here, you're generally looking at more favorable interest rates. You're looking at generally lower fees, but you also need to generally have a higher credit score. So that's what a conventional loan is. You can get into a home you can get into a home for as little as 3% down. That's the minimum down payment that you can make on a home. That's a conventional loan. An FHA loan, generally, you can have slightly less credit or not as strong of a credit as you would with a conventional loan. An FHA loan, the minimum that you would need down would be 3.5%. And then also, from an FHA perspective, when it comes to the condition of the property, you're generally going to see some additional requirements or some additional details that need to be addressed whenever your lender to feel comfortable in issuing the loan. And we can talk about that here later on if you have any questions on that. But speaking in generalities, just really painting with the broad stroke to get us into a better framework and better understanding of the loans if this is the first time that you're buying a home, as an example, or if you haven't purchased a home in a while, a little bit of a refresher. This is not meant to be the in-depth analysis of, this is certainly not the mastery level of loans. This is not the video for that, although we do have videos of that in this particular channel, so don't forget to subscribe. All right, so with that being said, down payment for our purposes today, I know I just went through a bunch of stuff, but for our purposes today, we're just going to keep it simple. We're going to do a 5% down payment. 5% down payment on this type of home, it'll give you the breakdown on the following tab, but a 5% down, the reason that we put 5% down in this particular situation is just to have a starting point, but also recognizing that one big part of, let me back up. One big myth that is out there is that you need 20% down to purchase a home. Well, we just went through the minimum requirements and we know that that's not true. But the reason that the 20% down myth exists is because regardless if you use an FHA loan or a conventional loan, those loan requirements give you a 20% down. If you do 20% down, under those loans, let me rephrase that. So under those loans, if you put 20% down, you're avoiding additional mortgage insurance. You're avoiding additional fees per se. So if you don't put at least 20% down in your home purchase, you're paying an additional 0.5%, almost a full percent more in mortgage insurance. because the bank, regardless if you got a conventional or if you got an FHA loan, they don't see that you have enough skin in the game. They took on 95% of the liability in this particular situation, and you took 5% of the liability because you put 5% cash. So until you can surpass that 20% owner equity, which is our equity in the property, which will generally happen within 5 to 7 years of making continuous payments, until that happens on an FHA loan, going back to the types of loans, once that happens, your mortgage insurance goes away. But on an FHA loan, that mortgage insurance never goes away. So you're paying an additional fee regardless if you own 20%, 60%, 100% of that property. Well, at that point, you don't have a payment. You're paying an additional mortgage insurance until that happens, until you pay it off. I know it gets a little bit murky. Hopefully I did a decent enough explaining that, but let's continue going. So down payment, first consideration that you're going to need to make, which is obviously going to impact the loan that you receive. It's going to obviously impact the payment that you're going to be making. So when it comes to a mortgage payment, there's 4 components that you need to look at. One is going to be the amount that you borrow, so the principal, the interest, which is how much the bank is charging you to borrow that money, the property taxes that you're paying, and the home insurance. Those are the 4 components that you're typically going to see in your monthly mortgage statement. So we need to look at what the interest rate is going to be. So what we're going to do is mortgage interest rate today. So as you see here, the Fed recently had an announcement and it wasn't favorable for loans. So we're going to do a similar breakdown. We just did Keller on actually last week. So on Sunday. So this is what we came out with. So I'm going to put the exact same numbers. So I'm going to put the exact same numbers and you're going to see the movement that can happen within a few days. So back then, if I remember correctly, we had a $400K loan. We did the same thing. We put 5% down. And we gave ourselves a decent credit score. Now, if we would have done an 800 and above, then we could get that 7.25. But back then, we gave ourselves a decent credit score. So you see the difference between a week. This is just a week difference. It's a 0.2% interest rate. Now you may be thinking, well, Jaime, that's not that bad. Like, I mean, we're looking at a 0.1, 0.2. How much does that affect you? Well, it affects you a lot. It affects you to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars if we're looking at it through the year, through the 30-year loan, right? Because this is essentially what you're looking at. So fight for every interest point that you can. Fight for every point, whatever interest point that you can. This is huge. This is meaningful because remember, with this particular interest rate, this has the biggest variation. If you can get a loan for 6% versus 7%, not only is it a no-brainer, but it also can impact you again into hundreds of thousands of dollars for the life of the loan. So fight for every percentage point that you can. All right. So although painful, we're going to have to bump this up because we're giving you a realistic situation right here, right now. Excuse me. So here, as you go down in the description and get this max price calculator that was created by Win the House You Love, Kyle Seagraves, check out his YouTube channel, Win the House You Love. His information is linked down below there as well. But this tool is what we're using, what you're seeing right now, the max price calculator, so you can do your own analysis. So you're doing the exact same things. The only difference is you're probably doing this a week after, a month after, a year after, 10 years after, who knows, right? So you do the exact same calculation. The length of our loan is going to be 30 years, which is pretty standard. Property tax rate, this is huge. So remember, this past week we did Keller. Today we're doing Grand Prairie. Now, here's what's super important about this. Let me see here. Here's what's important about this. Every city in the DFW Metroplex, can you see that? Let me zoom in. Maybe you're not, I forgot to do that earlier. That should be able to help. Every city in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex operates differently. But for the most part, you can count on 3 taxes plus 2 I'm not gonna say optional, but they're not always there. So when it comes to property taxes, you need to factor in the city tax, the county tax, and the school tax. Those three together are gonna typically be your property tax rates. Now, in some cities, in many cities, in fact, you're gonna either add an additional one tax or a second tax, which is either gonna be a higher education tax. So think of like community colleges, or a hospital network tax. So this is more on the healthcare side. So that's what we're up against. Now in Keller, when we did our breakdown, I believe Keller only had a city, county, and had a, what was it? Yeah, city, county, and ISDs, and I believe a healthcare tax, I believe. So for our purposes today, we're gonna see what Grand Prairie has. And we're gonna go back to Google, Grand Prairie Texas property tax rate. All same information that you have access to right in your fingertips. So we're gonna go here and go to the rates, and we're gonna move super quick. All right, so since Grand Prairie is located in several different states, in several different counties, we need to make some adjustments. All right, so we have the city, we have the ISD, we have the county, okay, and then dependent on your jurisdiction, all right, the combined, the two predominant taxes in Grand Prairie, Tarrant County, Arlington, Independent School Districts. All right. City, county, hospital, community. Okay, so they broke these up. They broke them down here. So that's awesome. Good. So let's do this breakdown. Don't let this confuse you, because I know it could very easily confuse everybody, because it just did me. All right, so here we go. For our purposes today, we're gonna let's stick to the right hand side for a second, because let's stick to the Dallas side, because you're gonna see a lot more Dallas than not. All right, so here's what's happening. Remember, when it comes to city property tax rates, you're looking at the city tax rate, the county tax rate, the ISD, higher education in certain cases, and then a hospital network or a healthcare network of some kind. Now, those other two that I just mentioned, the higher education and the hospital network, that's not always the case, but in this particular situation, it happens to be the case. So there's actually the five property tax rates that I was talking about apply here. So here you have the city itself. So Grand Prairie, you're gonna take this number, you're gonna add it by the county, you're gonna add it to the ISD that you're going to, and then you're going to add these two others right here. So for our purposes today, I'm just going to do a very, very basic addition, and hopefully I get this right. All right, so we have 0.66 to that, add to county, 0.87, Parkland, 1.8, 1.8, 1.19. I'm just going to say 1.2, and then 2.29. So I added this, and this, and I did not add that because you're either going to be in the Grand Prairie ISD or in the Cedar Hill ISD, and then same thing here. It just depends on where you live. If you're in the Dallas County side or in the Tarrant County side, it depends the hospital network that you're paying and also the community college that you're paying for. So for our purposes today, we're going to say that this is, I'll do that math for you. Well, I mean, look at the differences. You can see the Grand Prairie ISD is actually less expensive than Cedar Hill ISD. So that right there, you already see the differences. Here, the difference is not as pronounced, but there still is a difference. You see that Arlington has a less tax rate than Mansfield ISD. So here on the left-hand side, let's just say we're on the Grand Prairie side. It's 2.29, I believe is what I counted up to. And then over here, if I do some very basic math, well, actually, let's just compare it. you're paying more on the Dallas County than you're paying over here by 0.02. Parkland, you're paying more in Parkland Hospital than Tarrant County by another 0.2, so that's a 0.04 is what we're looking at. And then here, let's call it a wash because it's not that meaningfully different. But then over here, it almost comes out in the wash because here you're paying a little bit more, 0.3. So the difference is going to be kind of minimal. It's if I do the math correctly, it's like 2.29 if I'm over here on the Dallas County side versus 2.28 if I'm over here on the Tarrant County side. So for Grand Prairie itself, you're not going to see as big of a swing as if you were in another city, which makes sense. So for our purposes today, we're going to X out of that. And we're going to come back here. So look at the big difference on the calculation that we did with Grand Prairie from last week. In Grand Prairie, it was 1.9%. So here, we're actually paying 2.29% in property taxes. So remember, with property taxes, they vary. I gave you those 5 potential numbers that you need to add. The city, the county, the ISD, the higher education, and the hospital network tax, which you're adding together. And also recognize that property taxes, you're paying for the life that you own that property. For as long as you own that property, regardless if you have a loan on that property or not, you're paying property taxes. It's important to recognize that because property taxes, they don't go away. Sorry to burst your bubble. So that's very important to be mindful of. Insurance rate, we typically just put 0.75% of the entire value of the home. That's typically what you're going to be paying for in terms of your policy, your home insurance policy for the year. Now note, home insurance rates vary all across. Every single year, I want you to go out and shop for your home insurance. Please, please, please do everything that you can to lower your home insurance premium, not your coverage. So coverages, keep your coverages in an adequate ratio. But when I'm talking about your premium, it swings. We've had situations where one of our clients gets into a very sweet rate, and they get a very favorable monthly premium, but then the next month it quadruples. It gets exaggerated, and you typically see this with insurances that are generally new or more cloud-based insurances that I don't want to call out any out by name, but you generally see sweetheart rates for those newer home insurance providers that are more online, that will give you these quotes and all that fun stuff. But then on your renewal, you get dinged. So just be aware of that. Do your research, but more importantly, make sure that you have your home adequately covered. But beyond that, making sure that you have that you're shopping your insurance rate every single year. HOAs generally are not going to be this high in Grand Prairie. And also with Grand Prairie, you're going to find some communities that don't have HOAs. Now, note that new construction homes typically are going to be in areas that do have an HOA. About 85% of the new builds that are being built right here and right now all across the DFW Metroplex are being built in HOA zones. So meaning a homeowners association, which you'll be paying on a yearly basis. And $300 is a reasonable amount for the type of home that we can expect to purchase at this amount, $469,000. All right, so now let's get into this. Your yearly gross income. So for our purposes today, we're going to say that we make $150,000. Or let's start off at $110,000. Let's just say we make $110,000. This is going to break open our analysis. Now that is our yearly income. Now, if you have debt, which means if you have car loans, if you have student loans, if you have credit cards, loans, child support, whatever debt you have, add it down here. So just name the debt and then put in the amount that you owe down here. So it can be added into your equation. So what this calculator is doing is taking your debt to income ratio into account, meaning how much do you have what financial responsibilities do you have versus how much are you actually earning per year. So your debt to income ratio. So in order for the analysis to work, in order for the calculator to work appropriately, you need to bring in your debts so we can see and we can make the calculation. For our purposes today, we're just going to keep it very simple. We're going to keep it very clean. And we're going to assume that we make $110,000 without debt. Now, important. This does not mean that without expenses. You, of course, have expenses. You, of course, have groceries. You, of course, have utility bills. You have phone bills, internet, and all that fun stuff. That's what the, oops, if I don't delete it, that's what this means. These are expenses. These are debts, right? So just be mindful of those differences. So this gives you a good breakdown. Now, if you're going to have someone else borrow with you, so meaning if somebody else is going to be on the loan, you can add their income here and also add in their debt. Okay? So if you have any questions on that, let me know in the chat down below. And also, I have all of this linked down below so you can check it out for yourself. All right, so what's happening now? We're going to go over here to our Affordability Dashboard. And again, go check out Win the House You Love, fantastic YouTube channel. And we're going to scroll down. We're going to not pay attention to this real quick, and we're going to go and break this down just so you know how to use this. This particular calculator, this max price calculator that you see on the screen, takes in your risk into consideration, or your risk profile, your risk tolerance. So it gives us different simulations. It gives us different numbers. So again, if you have all of this criteria, if you have all these details, so if you're putting 5% down, if your interest rate is this, if the property tax rate is that, blah, 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 it takes all this information along with your income, of course, and it lets you know based off of riskiness, based off of your risk tolerance, which is essentially going to be the percentage of the net income that goes to your housing, your home expense. It takes that into consideration and gives you a safe, conservative, moderate, aggressive, or risky score, right? We have a comment in the chat. See if I can pull it up. It's not showing. Is Grand Prairie the one near Grand Prairie or Plano? I forgot. Grand Prairie is the one right next door to Arlington. Such a great question. So Grand Prairie is right next door to Arlington, right next door to Dallas, right next door to Dallas. So let me show you where it's at. I love Grand Prairie. We've placed so many families in Grand Prairie. A lot of my siblings actually, although they live in Arlington, they actually work in Grand Prairie. All right, so there's Grand Prairie. And I'm going to X out of this real quick because I just remember that Google Maps has a really tough time working with my live stream software. This gives you, again, the risk profile. So on a safe loan, which it's all subjective, but on a safe loan, the max that you would want to purchase so you can have 33% of your net income go to the mortgage payment would be a home that's $235,000. Well, in this case, you already saw that our breakdown, we're trying to hit $469,000. And then, yeah, you could almost just about purchase a home in Grand Prairie on the safe, conservative risk profile. On a conservative price, you're looking at $264,000. You can still qualify. It's just a safe. Again, it's based off of your risk profile, basically. It's 37% of your net income at that point would go to your mortgage payment. Now, you can still qualify for more. On a moderate risk level, you can qualify for a $340,000 home. That you're starting to get into a higher percentage of your income going towards your housing payment. And then on the aggressive side, you can almost purchase the home that we're trying to purchase. But then you're looking at 60% of your net income is going to the house payment. Now we try to get the loan in the moderate to aggressive risk tolerance whenever we do these calculations, just to give you a realistic perspective. Can you get approved for a risky loan? Yes, you can. Do you need a perfect credit score? Yes, you do in order for that to happen. But what you're going to find is that lenders will lend same way that realtors will sell homes, lenders will lend. So they will find a way to qualify you for this anywhere that they possibly can. So just be mindful of that. Now, you're going to see how all of this gets changed radically if we were to change the interest rate. So if we were to get a mortgage rate of 6%, this radically changes. So if we were able to secure a 6% loan, then boom, there you go. You're essentially qualified. But we know that we can't just willy-nilly change that. Just one pro tip: if you're looking for a lower mortgage interest rate, you can do what's called buying down interest rates, which is essentially what you're doing is paying interest ahead of time. You're paying an additional amount to buy down your interest rate, not to 6%, just full disclosure, but you're able to knock this down. Also, if you buy new construction, which we buy new construction all of the time, if you buy new construction, oftentimes the lenders that are partnered with the builders will have already bought down the interest rate. So you would have access to a 7%, a 6%. Right now, I haven't seen a 5.5 in a while. So I can't tell you that right now as of this recording, but I can tell you that you can get into the 6s if you buy new construction, depending on the project and the builder. All right, this seems like a great location near Dallas. My parents work in Austin, but they want to live in the Dallas area, so we do want easy access downtown. It's a fantastic place. So there's two cities those that need to be close to Dallas that I recommend. One is Irving, and two is Grand Prairie. With Grand Prairie is actually my number one. I'm very, 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 very bullish on Grand Prairie for several reasons. Again, if Google Maps would work better with my software streaming, then I could pull it back up. But the reason I like Grand Prairie is because from north to south, you have the George Bush Turnpike, which goes north to south. And I understand that it's a toll road, but it gets you to the north part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex pretty easily. And to get into Dallas and even to get to Fort Worth, you have Interstate 30, you have Interstate 20 that will take you right into the areas. All right, so I did think of Plano because of the stuff, North Texas, plus I'm a musician, so I want to still be with Tarpley's music like here in Dallas. Oh, Tarpley's, I remember buying my trombone there. That's what's up. Plano's awesome. I do like Plano as well. You're generally, for this type of home that we're breaking down right now, you're probably looking at, instead of a $469,000 calculation, you're probably looking at a $550,000, $570,000 calculation. All right. Great stuff. Keep those comments coming. All right, so we need to make our adjustments. Because we're just shy. We're going to say we make $125,000 and see if we can get to that $469,000, which will buy us that. Remember, we're not losing the plot. Buy us this 2,800 or almost nearly 2,900 square foot home, 4 beds, 3 baths. All right, so we're going to go to the affordability, and the calculation lets us know that we're there on the aggressive number. So on the aggressive side, so that means that we're paying almost 60% of our net income is going to the monthly mortgage payment. Now, this might not be you, meaning you might not feel comfortable with this amount of debt, and I don't blame you. That's completely okay. That's why we break it down the way that we did. That's why you get options and you're able to calculate this. So if you wanted to play around with, there's only so much that you can do with your yearly income, and you're not going to go to your boss and say, hey, I need a 20% raise because I want to buy this type of house. If you do, kudos. That takes an incredible amount of courage. But what you can generally look at in terms of what things that you can control is your down payment. So maybe spending a little bit more time and putting additional money down. So if you do a 10% down, well, that's going to impact the amount that you're borrowing. Now, note, simply because you double your down payment doesn't mean that you're going to double or even come close or even make a significant change in the max price that you can purchase. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. I thought, well, heck, why don't I do 20% down? That's going to really lower my monthly mortgage payment. Turns out it reduced it by $100 a month. A lot of it has to do with the house that I was purchasing at the time, but simply because you put a certain amount down does not mean that it's going to proportionally lower your monthly mortgage payment. Hopefully that makes sense. The biggest driver, the biggest change that you're going to see is in this number right here, the interest rate. If you can get this to 6.9% as an example, you've done a lot. But unfortunately, you don't control that all that much. What controls that is the market, the circumstances. But again, my pro tip here is buying new construction, because typically you're going to find a builder that has relationships with lenders that will get you a lower interest rate. So if you need support on that, just send us an email at admin@highmearsons.com. Gladly hook you up with the lenders that are doing that right now. I personally buy investment properties, like brand new builds, because of this particular reason, among others. But I really enjoy the lower interest rate because I understand that a D.R. Horton home is going to have a certain level of interest rate far lower than the market value. All right, I moved from Azo to Grand Prairie and I'm moving back to Azo next month. I hate it here. It's way too crowded and I hate the tolls. I don't blame you. I don't blame you if you're used to a certain type of environment, and if it's not a fit for you, that's okay. So Azo is quite different than Grand Prairie, although I really enjoy Grand Prairie from every way, shape, and form. And the way that it's being built on the George Bush Turnpike, like with the big water park there, even their police station is phenomenal. Phenomenal. It's become a really city planning, and I broke this down. If you haven't checked out my Grand Prairie video, I encourage you to do so. It's on this channel, but it's called Everything You Need to Know About Grand Prairie. Just city planning, the way that they're doing it, the way that they're bringing in building businesses is just at another level. I think that it's one of the best managed cities, in my opinion. Everyone has one. Everyone has an opinion. For my money, it's one of the best managed cities in the surrounding cities. And that says a lot because I have properties in Arlington. I've lived in Arlington. My family has lived in Arlington since 1999. I love Arlington. But the moves that I see Grand Prairie making, unreal. So they have all the newer restaurant concepts. Even though I don't play pickleball, they have what's it called? Chicken and pickle. Terrible chicken. Fun enough pickleball, I guess. I don't know. I don't play it, but anyway. Before I go and disparage the concepts that I don't care for or the restaurant concepts that I don't care for, everyone's different. I respect that. We have a fight in the chat. How can I pull these up? I want to pull these up. All right, so we just covered that. And keep the comments, keep them civil, but keep them coming. Bro, what? I raised my family here in Grand Prairie for 10 years and it's the best. I would be more on that side of the equation. You will get used to it. That's fair. It's way too much for me. I love Azo. It's my hometown and lived there for 30 years. I can respect that. I'm a smaller town folk as well. I currently live in Crowley right now. And I grew up in West Texas. I grew up in Lubbock, Texas. So I can appreciate the smaller towns. That's why I'm usually on the outskirts of the DFW Metroplex. So I respect all sides. Grand Prairie is the best, and I moved here with my mom here 4 years ago, and I love it. Awesome. Hey, I love the opinions coming out. I love the perspectives coming out. Keep them coming. Again, keep them civil. But I respect everyone's flavor is different. So the good thing about DFW Metroplex, you have over 80 cities in the DFW Metroplex to choose from. So that's why it's important that we go to these numbers, especially here in the property tax rate, because every city is going to charge you a different property tax rate. So as an example, if you buy a house in Garland, and let me rephrase that. If you love Plano and you have the same builder, the same model, the same house in Plano versus a house that you could purchase in Coppell, and you really don't care about the location in terms of it does you no difference, and it's just about the house, then you have to look at your property tax rates because they're going to be different. In one of the cities, you're going to be paying thousands and thousands of dollars more lifetime in property taxes. So that's why it's important that we go there. All right, I respect that I was born in Round Rock but moved to Crowley, but I'm more biased on Grand Prairie because my dad worked here. Oh, awesome. Oh, you're a neighbor. I live in Crowley right now. I've never been to Azo, so I don't know what to expect. I've been to Azo, and I like Azo. There's a lot of new construction going on in Azo. Cool. So here's what I have to do right now. I want to break this down, but I have to, since we already came up with, essentially what you would need in order to purchase for that. We're trying to hit that $469,000 mark. So I have to manipulate this number up here, to give you this breakdown, because that's going to be the highest and best use of our time today. So what I need to do is cover your ears or cover your eyes for a quick second, because I'm just manipulating numbers right now because I just need to get the affordability dashboard to match up to what I want to show. So at this point, the exercise is over. We know how much you would need to earn in order to purchase a home. I just need this number to get to 469 or rough about. So 190 should do it. All right. Okay, for our purposes today, we're gonna say that that's good. All right, I'll do one more because I do like accuracy. So forget this number for a second. I just need this number to get close. There we go. Could not have gotten closer. All right, keep those chats coming. Where did my chat section go? I see them. I see you chatting, but I can't bring you back up. All right, so go and check out the chat. It is bumping, so I appreciate the input. All right, so here we go. So forget everything that you're seeing on the left-hand side. Just look at the numbers for a second, because I want you to see the breakdown, where the numbers go, where they're coming from in a realistic situation. So let's just say we were going to buy a home for 5% down, and we were going to buy it in Grand Prairie. So your down payment at a 5% down payment, you're looking at about $23,500. That's going to be your down payment. You need to come with a duffel bag. I'm kidding. You're going to need a cashier's check or wire that amount along with the estimated closing costs. So the estimated closing costs can go into the title work. It's going to go into the lender cost. It's going to go into all of that. So basically, the liquid amount, the money that you need to have either in your bank or in a savings account, is going to be about $35,000 is what you would need liquid. Again, this can't be in stocks. This can't be in whatever. It has to be in liquid form that you're going to be able to wire, that you're going to be able to get a cashier's check on. You're going to be about $35,000 to get into a home of about $470,000. Cool. All right. So that's what you're going to need in terms of come into the bank with that amount. Now, if you do more money down, of course, it's going to increase this amount. Now, if you do less, remember, conventional or FHA, you can go conventional 3% down. FHA, you can go 3.5% down. Now, what I want to show you here is the monthly mortgage payment, a rough estimate, which is going to be pretty on point, by the way, about $4,500 a month, making all of these assumptions fit into, assuming all of these numbers are your scenario. The principal and interest that you would be paying, this is going to be a fixed amount. This is going to be the fixed amount that you're going to be paying for the 30 years. This does not change. Your principal and interest if you get a fixed interest rate, which most of you will be getting that. So you're looking at about $3,100. Property taxes. This is the big one. This is the big one that really impacts a lot of people, especially if you're not from Texas. Texas has the 6th highest property taxes in the country. New Jersey is number 1. So if you're coming from California, if you're coming from Oklahoma, which they're basically property taxes are non-existent. If you're coming from other states, this is going to shock you, especially if as you start getting homes of 500,000, 700, you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars in property taxes. So you need to be mindful of that. You're looking at $900 per month in property taxes. So that's why that number, that calculation that we did that got us to 2.9% is so valuable. Is so valuable. I appreciate all of the chat. You know what? Give me 1 second. I know there's a chat feature because I just saw y'all. How do I show the chat? I had it. Oh, it's going to be here. Here we go. Let's catch up real quick. Where are we at? How's Crowley, by the way? I saw a great house here, but I don't know about the schools. Crowley, if you're looking for the schools, although I'm a real estate professional, there's certain things that I can't get into. If schools is your number one, like your number one thing, Crowley generally for our clients is not a top of the list if you're searching in this area. Again, just take it for what it's worth. With our clients, if schools is the number one thing, Crowley generally doesn't make that top list. There's way too many people in the chat. Well, the amount of people in the chat shows how great Grand Prairie is. Laugh out loud. There you go. They came to represent. They came to represent. I just searched up my hometown and it popped up here. Laugh out loud. I'm bored. That's fair. Well, thanks for being here. Guess I'll just sit here and learn more about Grand Prairie. That's what's up. I'm so close to deciding on my home. I've talked to my real estate agent and I have 2 cities to choose, Keller or Grand Prairie. I live in Fort Worth. What do I do? That is so interesting because we did Keller on Sunday. Without stepping on anybody's toes, I know that you're working with the real estate agent. It really does come down to the biggest differences that I would say with Keller and Grand Prairie. It's going to be your property taxes. That's going to be a big thing. It's actually, you just saw it in real time where here your property tax rate in Keller, I believe, was 1.9, give or take a little bit. So that's going to be a big consideration. Where you're going to commute on a day-to-day basis is also going to be a consideration. Keller, you do have access to 114, which will get you into Dallas, and then you can hop over on 35 east west to get to Fort Worth. So you're pretty centrally located. And it can give you access to the north side of the DFW Metroplex a little bit quicker, at least on the Denton side of things. Now, if you need to get to Collin County, I would have to give the edge to Grand Prairie because of the Dallas North Tollway. So commute would be the second thing that I would look at. Schools, if you're looking at the schools, again, I'm as a real estate professional, I'm speaking Keller and Grand Prairie. If you're looking at schools, which one I would give the edge to, I would have to give Keller the school edge in that regard. So those are really the top 3 things that I would look at: property taxes, commute, and then schools. So do you know what's number 1 for schools in DFW that's not too expensive? You're going to get me in trouble. I'm not supposed to talk about these types of things. What I can say is that, how can I say this? How can I say this? If I had kids, which I don't, if I had kids, I would be living in Coppell. I'll put it that way. To answer your question. And I'm answering that question. Alrighty. Now that's not too expensive part. That might not fit the bill there, but Coppell's really where my community's at anyway. So that's what's up. Homeowners insurance. What we did there is we just took this calculation right here, 0.75% of the entire value of the home. Please shop around your homeowners insurance every single year. Mortgage insurance. Remember, if you have a conventional loan, you're going to be paying mortgage insurance if you do not put at least 20% down. So what I encourage people to do, if you're on the fence about doing 15% down versus 20% down, if you can do it, I encourage you to go ahead and put 20% down, because the difference is going to be, yes, you're putting 5% more. You're essentially putting 23%, $23,000 more. But if your capital, if you're not strapped for cash, and for you, it would mean the same in terms of quality of life. If you put 15% down versus 20% down, I would much rather you put 20% down and get the benefits of 20% of owning your home a little bit more in terms of not having as much. Let me rephrase that. You're obviously own more percent of your home, but you're also not paying that mortgage insurance, and you're also not paying as much in interest in the long run. Again, if that 5% difference is going to be immaterial to you, I would suggest do that. Now, if you have an FHA loan, so this is a different type of loan, that mortgage insurance, this amount never goes away. Doesn't matter if you have if you started at 5% down, 10% down, and then eventually get to 20% down, that doesn't go away. That's there for the life of the loan. So be aware of that. And then the HOA fee, we added in the monthly mortgage payment, not because you actually pay it in the monthly mortgage payment, but because it is a good way to budget your income. Because as you know, surprises happen. As you know, sometimes unexpected events happen and you have to shell out cash. I'd much rather you budget this in than be surprised January 1st when you get an email or a letter from your HOA saying, hey, you owe $300, $500, $600, whatever your HOA is, and we need it by the next 2 weeks, or we're going to assess a fee of $50, $100. So just be mindful of that. Folks, I really appreciate it. Y'all have made this the best live stream I think we've had in a while. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is linked down below, and also our email is admin@highmariotresidences.com. I hope to see you on the next one, which will be covering another fantastic city in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. For our purposes today, we now know how much we need to earn in Grand Prairie. How much we need to earn in order to purchase a home in Grand Prairie. So make sure if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. See you on the next one.